Y'all ready for this? Wait, is that gonna get me copyright? No, wait, never mind. Okay, hang on. Bye. Yeah, you're about to notice a whole lot of new stuff, buddy. Ha ha! Hi. Long time no see. Hello. Yes, basically. I just realized how bad the chat looks just slapped over the background like this. So yes, hi. It's been a hot minute. As you may have noticed from the stream title, I am dehydrated, bothered, somehow in my element. We're working on the dehydration. Oh my God, hello everyone. Hi, Janice, Balthazar, Cloud Force, Piggy, you guys are all here. Oh, it's so comforting seeing your names again. The double hydrate redeems. Okay, let me. Yeah, okay, let's hydrate real quick. Liam, yes, it has. Hello. I don't think I have the multi-chat configured on the chatting screen because I've never really done just chatting before. Yeah, okay. So the rigging on my one, listen, unfortunately, the hibernation does come with the territory of being a bear. It is an unfortunate side effect. But the good news is, there's no more babies coming for the time being, and I am not due to go through a 13-hour time zone difference anytime soon in the future. So, but yes, this is going to be the 2.0 model for now. Yeah, for now is a big one. This is going to be the 2.0 model. There will be a informal debut of sorts, like just kind of like an official one. That will be the official funeral for 1.0. We may see 1.0 a few more times before I officially bury her 6 feet under, but as you guys have probably already noticed, like you can kind of see how the rigging on 1.0 is, the age is probably a lot more noticeable now compared to this model. So yeah, I'm super happy about it. The design and model art, yeah, 1.0 is getting the big hibernation. They're going to a wonderful den upstate. A wonderful, comfortable hibernation den upstate to take a nice long hibernation. But yeah, so yeah, no, it's not a farm. The funeral is going to be for the 1.0 model who the model and design is going to be retired, basically. Like if people want to draw her, they can still draw her, but for all intents and purposes, this will be the model and design intended as the main design. Exactly. This is what the hibernation was for. I am just a beautiful, not butterfly. I don't have wings. But yeah, so this is kind of like a soft launch for the model, so I can start getting used to it, tweaking it. You guys can get used to it. Retirement sounds less morbid. She's retiring upstate to a bear preservation. Yeah, that does sound a little less morbid, huh? But yeah, so I still need to do that hydrate. Hang on. Let me get the water and do the chuggers. Chuggers. I mean, it's going to be a comfortable retirement. She'll be fine. 1.0 will be fine. She's probably happy to rest after 5 long years of being the hard carry. It is absolutely a 5-star bear preservation. Unfortunately, she will not be qualified to participate in Fat Bear Week. But, you know, we play by the rules. We respect the rules. They were kind enough to accept her at the reservation. At the preservation. So yes, what was I going to say? Oh, right. So the design and model art were both by Lil Palette, who I adore working with. They did a fantastic job. I'm really happy with the results. And the rigging was done by Amelia ZZZ. Also fantastic results. I'll show you guys some of the toggles in a bit. But yeah, so quick refresh for those who don't remember. I kind of exploded at work. And by exploded, last shooting pose. No. 1.0 doing the last shooting pose, but then it turns into the Gundam narrative poster with the people post with the other outfits post at the bottom. What was I gonna say? Right. So yes, for those who don't know, I kind of exploded at work because we had back-to-back maternity leave, and yeah, I exploded. I basically couldn't handle streaming and the workload. And then I realized that I had a trip planned to Korea to go visit relatives. And I realized that I might as well extend it through the end of that, recover from jet lag, and then come back nice and refreshed. So the good news is I am feeling very refreshed, thankfully. Very grateful to everyone showing up tonight, being patient during all that. I know it was a long period of time to have to go getting nothing from me. Thank you everyone for showing up today, for the resubs. It's very appreciated. It feels great to be back. So let's get into the fun stuff and show you some of the toggles. Replay agree. Not tonight. Part of the reason for this being a Zatsu stream today is to kind of reacclimate myself into getting used to streaming again, but also I have some kind of, I think it's either early onset birthritis, or some kind of repetitive strain injury. Yeah, everything feels like a blur, I bet. So I might have some kind of repetitive strain injury. I had to get arthritis stuff for my poor wrist, so we're going to give that a bit of a rest. Anyways, so I have to unlock the model real quick so I can show you guys this stuff. Can I zoom in a bit more? Why is it locked? There we go. Yeah, okay, Naku. So I'm gonna get nice and close to the camera. Hi. No, so this is the first time you guys are seeing this model, Zam. This is your first time seeing this model. Hi. Yeah, nice and close, huh? I love lots of cute details. I have goggles now. You guys might realize these match the Fumbies. We have matching goggles. Personal bubble. Oh, wait, maybe I should scale up the Fumbies a bit in stream avatars, because you guys are basically supposed to be like desktop buddy says. Yes, we have a snaggletooth. Yeah, the goggles are fun. What is the correct? Why are they not working? Why are the toggles not working suddenly? Did I accidentally turn off the toggles? I thought that they were working earlier. Yeah, use the keyboard hotkeys. Why are they not working suddenly? Did I accidentally... Are you still good with the space theme? Not quite. Oh, okay, there we go. There will still be nighttime stuff featured, but in terms of the tagline being night sky loving bear, that's kind of not really the go-to tagline anymore. For now, we're probably gonna stick with after hours hobby bear, because I'm trying to find time for my hobbies after working. I did take out the girl fail extraordinaire because apparently the term girl fail has evolved to pick up a pretty negative context because of how people use it. So I always use it to just mean that like I can be really clumsy and prone to scuff. But apparently the way some people use it is like a little more concerning. So I don't want people to misinterpret that. So I did take out the girl fail extraordinaire, but it is still going to be a redeem. Anyways, which one is the... Oh yeah, I have glasses. They're prescription. Yeah, exactly. So as a tagline, we did take out the girl fail extraordinaire. Yeah, I have glasses. They look fantastic. Oh, I can stick out my tongue now. Oh, wait. Okay, guys. Watch what happens when I move my mouth side to side with the ears. I can make my ears wiggle side to side. Emmy did an amazing job with my requests for the specific physics. It's very subtle, but I like that it's subtle. Like, if you know it's there, who knows? I mean, there's definitely ways to try that. Like, you don't have to get a model to try out VTubing. There's so many good, well, one, there's lots of custom made options. I know war has changed. Let's see. And then take off the glasses. Oh yeah, I can take off the goggles. But it looks weird without the goggles or the glasses. Let's see. And then we get the little blushy face. Woo. Hey, woo. Hi, guys. Which one is this? Oh yeah, my little pouty cheek puff face. My face when color correcting stickers. This is no. This is no. And then and then, you know, this is just kind of like oh, that just happened. Okay, yeah, sure. The yandere face, yeah, give me a knife, let's go. It's like, but you said you'd never leave me, Fumbies. Why would you want to leave? I did see that. We're getting the MGS4. I'm shocked. Your face when you played both Red Dead games. And then, you gotta have the sparkles, of course. Oh wait, am I too zoomed in too close? Oh, it's in August. There's little sparkles that animate on the sides, but they kind of blend in with the colors of the background, I realize now in this moment. So you may not be able to see them, but I have a very cute little sparkle face. And there's blink physics. When I blink. What? Look at that. When I blink. What? Probably like it's the old snake smoking load. This is true. Smoking is not healthy for you. And then, oh yeah, this one. This was supposed to be, what was this face supposed to be originally? Just like a general kind of like panic face. And then Palette was like, just like, what if I made it, what if we went cartoony with it? And I was just like, let me see what you're talking about. And then Palette said it to me and I was like, absolutely yes. This is very yes. So those are the, yeah, I love how, hang on, where is it? I can combine these. No head vein mark, but I might get one in the future. So like this is a fun combo. Like oh, I keep turning out the sparkles. So that's the expression toggles. A lot of fun. Oh wait, I think I have the. There we go. Okay, now that's off. Oh wait, it looks like I'm hiding. That's the. Oh wait. Peekaboo. 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 Woohoo. Ba-ba-ba. And then, now I'm gonna zoom out a bit because there's some fun body toggles. Boom, hand on waist. Boom, check it. Emmy did such a good job with these body physics. Check it out. Oh yeah, baby. The sass, exactly. We got sass in this 2.0. More of the design. I love the belt pouches. They are fun. And then, of course, thigh highs. Always gotta have the thigh highs. Masaka. and the booties, which I love that these look like little bear toes. It's a full body model, but the rigging is only half body because you guys don't really see my feet that often to begin with. Okay. I need you guys to get ready for this next toggle. It is my favorite toggle on the whole model. I think that I say, but exactly, you get it, Piggy. It was probably like it was a very crucial toggle for me to have that I really wanted, and I requested very specific physics for it, and Emmy 100% came through and made it exactly what I wanted. So I'm holding instructions. Okay, you guys ready for this? Watch what happens when I look towards them. I can actually look at the instructions. It's so good. I am so happy with how these physics came out, how it looks with the hand on the hip and the instructions, and the fact that like now when I'm like looking down at instructions during Gunpla streams, like you guys will actually see that. You guys will actually like it's incorporated. Like I asked Emmy to put basically adjust the arm based on like the head X and head Y, and they did an incredible job executing what I wanted for this. And then of course there's the video Emmy made on Twitter where he was like yeah. There is not an Ojo Laugh toggle. Maybe in the future we can consider one. But yes, so having like the hand on hip toggle and whatnot, overall, I'm extremely happy with how a lot of the toggles came out. I don't really use face toggles too much in general chatting, so they were kind of designed, or the goal was more to have them as uses for like thumbnail creation, but like they're really good. I'm really happy with them. I'm really happy with the model. I'm really happy with the rigging. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, yes, technically I should wait. I cannot be bald. I did not go for a bald toggle unless it's hidden and Emmy didn't tell me about it. Bald's a little cursed. I like being able to sleep at night, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I like being able to sleep at night. So what else is there? So yeah, so that's it for the 2.0 model. I'm super happy with it. So I knew I wasn't going to be patient enough to wait until an actual debut to start using it. So here we are. You guys get to have her early. Bald 2.0 isn't real. It can't hurt you. Correct. That is correct. It cannot hurt you at all. What else is there? So yes, in general, future of the streams. I'm still having some health stuff that I'm sorting through. One thing that I think is gonna help is that your girl is finally on Adderall. Yes, the bear ears were absolutely saying continuing to be a bear was non-negotiable. Continuing, whether or not I would continue to be a bear, never a question. So yes, unfortunately I am still doing some health stuff, but one thing I think is going to help is your girl's on Adderall. Finally got an Adderall prescription for the first time. Hey! Among other things. So more than likely, we are going to be sticking to a once a week schedule on Friday evenings. It is not going to be consistently one thing or hand cam streams. I think having that pressure is just going to be good to help. Yeah, exactly. I feel like being a bear is just kind of too natural for me at this point. Like being a bear just feels natural. Yeah, exactly. So there probably won't be weekly schedules anymore. Adderall is an ADHD medication. So I have had pretty severe ADHD since my days as a wee cub. It like severe enough that it has affected job performance to the point of risking job loss. So I have been on and off medications. I had never actually been on Adderall. And then my psych and I were kind of like, you know what, let's just, exactly. I would have to change, but you're right. I would have to change my name if I wasn't a bear. But my psych and I decided, you know, let's give Adderall a try. See how it goes. Yeah. I took a different version of Ritalin for several years when I was a kid. And it got to the point where basically I built up a tolerance to it. So I stopped taking medication because I would basically not eat and sleep, but still be constantly distracted. Welcome to why we have a tangent redeem. So yeah, there may not always be a schedule. Waiting rooms might go up last minute. I am going to try to have a general idea of what I'm going to be streaming for the week. But I think just easing back into things once a week will be good for me. It'll be healthy for me. Yeah, no, I had taken the medication from like... No. There will still be hand cams on occasion. It's just that before I kind of did... Fridays were consistently Gunpla Day, but because we're moving to a once a week schedule, not every Friday is going to be guaranteed a hand cam stream. It might be a while before the next Gunpla stream just because of the wrist injury I'm dealing with at the moment, because it hurts depending on how I move some of my fingers. So I'm trying to rest that properly. I've seen a lot of posts about how people don't rest their wrists properly, stretch them properly, and it leads to further complications down the line. Yeah, exactly. We're all going to go watch John build Gunpla instead. So no, there will still be hand cam streams here and there. Oh God, the Ocarina of Time playthrough. Oh, that's nostalgic. Wow, that is a throwback. Oh man. So there will still be hand cam streams. They just may not be Gunpla right away. For example, the HoloLive card game set with Ursa came out, and unfortunately I am someone who wants to be in hamburgers with Ursa Ravencroft, so I have a case ordered and I will probably open that on stream and you guys can watch me mauled in real time, and I will regret not having a bald trigger. Ursa, if you're there, I love you. I just want to be in hamburgers with you. Please let me play your deck. I would love to go back to locals. I haven't been to locals in months. None of my decks are up to date. Please, ma'am. I am, yes. Listen, it's... How do I say this? I'm so in lesbians for Ursa. It's true though. Like, okay, I gotta figure out this camera. The camera's a little wonky. It is having a little bit of trouble because I keep turning my head too far. That's a whoopsies. Silo, hi. I'm hitting the wrong toggle. This is the right toggle. Hi, Silo. I am using it. I am. Hi. Silo is my design sibling. Yeah. Like, I know my Cali deck's out of order, and I wasn't planning to buy a case. I was kind of hoping I wouldn't have to buy a case, but I bought enough boxes to basically make a case on the previous set, trying to get the rotten Oshi card, and I never got it. And I'm just like, if I'm going to be spending that amount of money, I might as well just buy a case and guarantee a playset. Because I did want to play the rotten deck, and like, yes, I could buy the single, I could buy the singles, but unfortunately, it hits different when you pull it yourself, okay? I know I'm talking like a gambling addict. I sound like a gambling addict, and like a little bit. There is a little bit of that at play. Yes, I will give you that. But listen, it hits different when you pull it for yourself. Just trust me on this, okay? So I'm talking about the HoloLive official card game. I have gone to a couple casual matches at my local card shop. I enjoy it. It's meant to be pretty quick to play. The matches don't really go past half an hour. The art is really gorgeous. I enjoy it. I was playing a Takamori deck, but I think that's outdated now and not really played anymore. I think it's either Cali Ramp or Cali Solo, but Narissa's been the big one I've been waiting for because the playstyle sounds really fun. Apparently, it's a pretty consistent deck. And her cards are understandably going for insane prices on TCG Player. So, yeah, I think hang on, I took a screenshot the other day. The alt art for her Oshi card, which is the core card you need to play her deck, is like kind of bonkers at the moment. What is it? Okay, so the base Oshi card, the OSR that you need to play her, is already at $20, which is kind of, to put it bluntly, that's above average for what most Oshi cards go for. The OUR, which is the alternate art for her Oshi card, is currently out of stock, but it goes for like almost $500. Like last I saw, it was going for almost $500, which is insane. No, I don't think it's that she's the new meta. It's just, I just think she's very popular, which is not surprising because it's Nerissa. I think she's just one of the more popular decks to collect from this set out of everything else that's released so far. That's what I think it is more than anything. I don't think it's that she's meta. I think I don't really pay attention to the meta. I don't know the meta because I try to focus on, is this a deck I'm having fun playing? Because I don't want to be sweaty or try hard about it. Like I just go and have fun, and I pretty much have like a losing streak for the most part. So as far as I know, it's more that she's just a very popular Hollow Mem. One of the full art versions of her second bloom is going for $375. The rare version of one of her base cards is going for $210. And the secret signed version of her Oshi card, last I looked, had a listing for $4,000 US, which is a lot of burgers. You can buy a lot of burgers with $4,000. So, yeah, if I wanted to get like non-basic cards or like the nicer cards that have the full art, it's like basically, it's just more cost effective to get a case because I need a full playset anyways. A case will guarantee a full playset. It will guarantee at least one of each Oshi card that you need to build for the new decks that came out. Yes. I do know to bathe before going to card games. I felt so bad because I walked into the game shop one day and I could smell the event before I saw the event. I was like, oh no, we're fulfilling stereotypes today. Oh, that's so bad. It was kind of bad, to be honest. And I felt bad. I was just like, oh. Like, you're just like sitting there like, oh. So I am going to get in and out of the store today. Yeah, that was a quick in and out visit. I won't. No sense of smell. That must be helpful then. Let's see, what else? So, yeah, it is good to be clean. Just gonna dab a little lotion on the nose first. Yes, correct. Let's see, what else is there? So what else happened? So babies were born. That's right, the whole crux of this is we had back-to-back maternity leave. I exploded at work. That's calmed down. Work is back to normal. Unfortunately, I am going back into the office more often now, which is another reason for the one-day schedule. It's like, oh, I have to wake up at 6 multiple days a week and face the world and leave my little cave, my little bear cave, and do that. And but I need money to get paid so I can play Ursa at locals. It's so funny because I'm so bad at buying Oshi merch in general. Like, Yeah. Gunpla, thankfully, there haven't been too many releases that have caught my eye. Probably not until they finally get around to releasing Bolt. I told myself I would have to hold back on Gunpla after buying the PGU, which I haven't started yet, but the motivation's coming back. I can feel the motivation coming back, which is good. What else was there? Korea. I should tell you guys about Korea. Korea was excellent. The jet lag was a little rough because it's a 13, 14-hour time difference depending on daylight savings. And then, yeah, saw family, saw relatives, went to my grandma's grave, which was something that had been weighing on me for a long time. I've never really talked about this to you guys. It's a little somber, but it's somber in a good way. South Korea. It was not North Korea. You can't get a visa to go into North Korea. Yes, this was South Korea. So my grandma, I had only met her a few times in my life because, obviously, being on the other side of the world made it a little difficult to go see her. International plane tickets can be pretty costly. And there was a language barrier too. So she only spoke Korean, like a lot of my relatives. And so I would always have to talk to her through someone. So I've only met her a few times, and she passed when I was in college. It is tough to enter North Korea. I have technically entered North Korea. I have technically been to North Korea. I did not enjoy it at all. My anxiety was going crazy the entire time I was over the border. But yeah, so my grandma passed 15 some odd years ago. I haven't been to Korea in like almost 20 years at this point. So, I just never had the chance. Oh, no, you're fine. So like I kind of never had the chance to go pay my respects at her grave and stuff, which kind of, it surprises a lot of people, but I have, I guess you would call it a strong sense of like filial duty somehow about some of these things. It's not like a consistent thing, but there's certain things where it's like I do feel a sense of like duty and responsibility to do them. And going to her grave to pay my respects was one of those things that, from what I remember of her, she was a very sweet and caring woman. She accidentally gave me cholera when I was a baby. And as far as I know, she did feel bad about that, which is good to know because that could have killed me. Yeah, exactly. It's difficult when, plane tickets cost several $1,000s and they're on the other side of the world. And especially with, not having the leave to go take the time, because if I'm going to go to Korea, I want to be there for at least a week, right? And longer would be nicer, but that's very difficult to do sometimes, especially before COVID. I had to spend most of my leave on doctor's visits because, it would just be like, okay, you either make up the hours and work super late, or you use your PTO to like take the day off to go to the doctor. So I just never had like the money or the leave to go to Korea. So it was, this trip was my birthday present from my mom, basically. She was like, I know you've wanted to go for a really long time. You want to go back. You want to go to your grandma's grave. So this is kind of going to be your birthday present this year. I think Korea is a very beautiful country. And it's a very interesting country because we did leave Seoul to where my uncle lives. And hilariously, I sent a picture to my friend and I was like, I feel like I'm back in New York City somehow. And I say that because there's a lot of places in New York where the buildings and storefronts are kind of like old and worn down, but not in a bad way. It's just because like they haven't needed to update it. It's not worth it to try to like make it like a new modern clean storefront or anything like that, right? So it like, I sent the picture to my friend. They're like, yeah, I'm looking at Lower Manhattan, but Korean. That's crazy. Seoul looks very like clean and modern, and I think it's because there's a lot of money being spent on maintaining storefronts in Seoul. But you know, I was really grateful to my mom. So we spent a few days in Seoul, did some shopping, bought tons of skincare and makeup, because of course I did. Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of like, it's one of those things where it's just like, if the storefront doesn't need to be updated and you don't have the overhead for it, then it's not a bad thing to update it. If anything, it was just kind of neat seeing that, like, it's like, oh, okay, this isn't just a New York thing. This is like a big city thing, and it's familiar to me, if that makes sense. But it was good. We went to my grandma's grave. I finally got to pay my respects. My relatives were kind of surprised because I was like, hey, let me buy the offerings for when we go. And they're like, oh my God, she's so like dutiful. And because I'm the oldest of my mom's kids, it like looked really good for my mom. And she was like, ooh, you got me some points today. I was like, yeah, you're welcome, Mom. That was a funny little combo we had. Yeah. Exactly. It's kind of like, if anything, I look at it as like a really neat time capsule of how Korea has developed. So it's really neat to kind of like go outside of the capital and go outside of Seoul and see like, okay, yeah, like they went through this phase. But yeah, so we did the full ceremony, which, for like Korean grave visits, you put out some food, some alcohol, you pray, give your regards, your messages, you share some of the food with them, and then you kind of go. And then I technically met my grandpa, and this is going to sound goofy. I didn't know my grandpa. I've never met my grandpa. He had basically passed before I was born and never had a chance to go to Korea. So I didn't know my grandpa had been interred there with his first wife, because apparently polygamy used to be a thing in Korea. So technically my grandma was his second wife, and he's buried with his first wife. So like technically I met my grandpa too. But it was good. We got together with my relatives. We went. It was a very nice. It was a really nice cemetery. I'm glad that she's buried in such a nice area. And it really did feel like a big weight had kind of been weighing on me had kind of been lifted. And it's like one of those weights that you kind of forget that it's there after a while. But it was good that like when I realized it was gone, it was just kind of like I genuinely felt lighter. Yeah, and then, obviously spending time with my relatives was a lot of fun. The most cursed thing that happened, I think like one of the most cursed things that happened is, hey Thinga, welcome. So my cousins, I did meet some of my cousins. That was fun. But my cousins, some of my cousins have kids now. One of them was this 3-year-old girl. She was adorable. There was one point where she grabbed my thumb and kept trying to stick it in her mouth. And I was like, hey, don't eat auntie. But she kept sticking it in her mouth. And then finally I just said like, hey, does auntie taste good? Is she delicious? And she just looks at me and goes like, no. I was like, all right, I know you're 3, but come on. She was so funny. But my cousin's first kid, and this is, I would argue she's the cousin I'm closest to because we were born the same year. But also she speaks like the best English of my cousins. So obviously there's less of a communication barrier between us. But she has an older son. He's about high school age. I don't think I taste good. quite frankly, and neither does my niece, apparently. Okay, so context. I only speak one language fluently. My relatives all said my Korean had improved a lot on this trip because the last time they saw me, I basically knew like a few phrases I could use to communicate certain things, and that was it. Whereas this time, I've kind of picked up enough words and grammar that like I could communicate in really broken sentences and kind of get the gist across. So they were pretty impressed that I was making the effort to try. I mean, language in the sense that they speak Korean because they're Korean and live in Korea. Yeah, but yes, there is a language barrier for the most part. I was using translation apps or relying on my mom or my aunt, one of my aunts who does speak English, to translate for the most part. Context. So when I say niece and nephew, generally among cousins, they don't break it out into terms like first cousin once removed. So technically my niece and nephew are my first cousins once removed. I have more nieces and nephews than I realize. I didn't know this. But in Korea it's kind of simplified a bit. So that's what we were using. We were using that kind of app on our phones to translate for certain things. But yeah, so when I say nieces and nephews, it's not that I have like 18 brothers and sisters you guys don't know about. It's because that's just how I refer to my cousins' kids. So some of them have older kids that are like high school age. And in my mind, I know I am their aunt, right? And I call myself their aunt. And there's a point where one of my nephews was visiting, and my aunt was like, all right, greet your aunt. And like it suddenly hit me that it's like, oh, I am this child's aunt. I am being greeted as an adult. Like I am not one of the kids right now. I was just like, 잠깐만요. I was like, hold on, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this. Like, because it's one thing when it's the cute little 3-year-old calling you auntie, right? And you can be like, oh, does auntie taste good? 이모 맛있어? And they're just like, 아니. And no, it's another when it's like a high school age kid taller than you greeting you formally as an aunt, and you're just like, the wrong toggle. It's like you're just like, I wasn't ready. Oh God, like I knew I was an aunt, but oh my God, I'm an aunt. Oh, they're actually calling me aunt now. I was not prepared for this. Exactly, my back like 100% gave out. Yeah, so that was a goofy moment. Yeah, it was good. Spent time with my relatives. It was good to see them all. But yeah, so overall, Korea was good. Spent a lot of money, ate some good food. There was a hilarious moment where we went to get some pork ribs, and they got spicy pork ribs. And, you know, they told me it was going to be spicy. Pork bulgogi is a bit spicy. Yes, the food was delicious. The food was absolutely delicious. I got so much bubble tea when I was in Korea, among other things. So I did see a Gundam-based store, and I tried to find it, but that was, we were running out of time, and I could not find the Gundam-based store. Yeah, I don't know, because, like, pork bulgogi, like, has a bit of spice, but it's an amount of spice I can handle. But, yeah, this was a store I didn't know they had it, and I saw the signs for it, and I tried to find it, and then I just couldn't find it. But we had to meet back up with my aunts, so I didn't have time to look for it further. But we went and got spicy pork ribs, and one of my aunts was just like, hey, let's get one order of mild for Mari just to be safe. And so we did, and I was like, well, let me try the spicy first. And like in my mind, I took a bite. It was way too spicy for me. And all I could think was like, y'all mind if Anise get a little white at the table? I did not roll Korean on that skill check. I rolled white girl on that skill check. For those who are confused what I mean about this, I'm only half Korean. So yeah, we rolled white girl on the skill check, and we were very grateful that one of my aunts was like, hey, let's get an order of mild. Oh man, that was, yeah, I was just sitting there like, ooh. But yeah, overall, good trip. Jet lag was rough dealing with it because basically I was in Korea long enough to start adjusting. This American food, to me, there is absolutely a difference in taste. And I think that's true in a lot of cases because the truth is a lot of American food is actually not legally sellable in other countries, or it cannot be sold as what it is sold as in America. A really good example of, I don't know if it would count as girl fail. Maybe, probably. By our definition, yes. So a good example is that most American breads cannot be sold in other countries as bread. They qualify as cakes because of the sugar content. Like, they are legally considered cakes in a lot of other countries. There are certain confectionaries, like Twizzlers, for example, not sold international. A lot of chocolate is also not, it can't be sold overseas as is. They have to change the formula and the formulation. So it's, yeah, the pastries in Korea are very sweet, but I will say, like, in terms of like artificial strawberry flavoring, for example, I prefer like Korean strawberry flavoring versus America strawberry flavoring. And like the biggest, most noticeable difference for me is that like American food is noticeably more synthetic, and because of food regulations, a lot of the time it's just, there is sadly a better quality in most other countries compared to like FDA regulations here. There is some weird stuff, like I know the FDA also blocks a lot of Korean sunblocks from being sold, but in terms of food quality, I would say it's definitely an improvement. That said, one thing that did depress me, I actually, when I was recovering from jet lag, because basically I was there long enough in Korea to start adjusting and then had to fly back to the States and start adjusting back. So my body was a little wonky for a bit. It was also, it's easier to gain more pounds. I would say yes, because I ate a lot of food in Korea and I gained surprisingly little weight. I have heard anecdotes of people moving to America from other countries and they do not change their diets, but suddenly they find that they're suddenly gaining a lot of weight. And a lot of that isn't helped by the fact that America is not a walkable country. Yeah, Silo brings up a really good point. Korea is very walkable. So like I was probably offsetting all the calories I was eating by all the walking I was doing. Yeah. Yeah, easily 20K steps daily, just walking around and taking like public transport and stuff. Seoul especially is very walkable. Daejeon, where one of my relatives lives, we did have to drive around a bit more, but that's because a lot of the times we were carrying stuff and it just wasn't feasible to be carrying the amount of stuff we were while walking. Whereas Seoul, we were a little more conscious. But in general, like the other thing too is my mom would mention a lot, like I would be surprised at how good some of the food was. And my mom would be like, well, yeah, if it's not good quality, they would go out of business because people just won't buy or eat at that restaurant. And then when I came back to America, I actually got kind of depressed when I was recovering from jet lag, because it was kind of like thinking about my mom saying that, but then also thinking about how like there's so many places in America where it's kind of like, it sucks, but it's the best we have, so we're just gonna accept it. And it's like, oh, it's so bleak. Like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to fire some rent lowering shots real quick. I got really depressed because I realized just how poor the quality of life at a basic level for the standard American is, and how badly we have been conditioned to accept it and accept those conditions. Things could be so much better for everyday Americans, but we have been conditioned so badly to just accept this status quo as it is right now. And I got really depressed about that. And I know that it is very much a grass on the greener kind of opinion. There are issues with Korean culture. Do not get me wrong. There are things that I know would drive me insane if I were to move to Korea. I am fully aware that there are flaws in Korean culture and Korean ways of living. But, you know, there are certain things that, like, at a basic level, like even just looking at like the quality of food you can get, it's like, damn. Well, and I think the other problem too is that in a lot of American regulations, there's been a lot of moves to favor allowing manufacturers to cut costs. There's a lot of cost cutting that is allowed. So in most countries, chocolate can only be considered chocolate if it has a certain ratio of chocolate compounds in it. Well, a lot of American like chocolate companies are substituting a lot of those compounds with other ingredients. So, you know, that's part of it. Like we talk a lot about stuff like high fructose corn syrup and artificial additives and whatnot and how it's not healthy. And I think that's also a big part of it, is that, you know, those additives and that focus on, you know, what are the cheapest and most cost-effective ingredients we can use to create these products does not contribute to it. And it is jarring because, you know, you see just like how it is every day in Seoul and like how stuff is, and you're just kind of like, and then you come back and see what it's like here, and it's like, oh, damn. Yeah, we can count the flaws from America or South Korea, any other person. Exactly. Yeah, every country has like flaws in how it's run and its culture and whatnot. Like we've talked before about issues with misogyny in Korea and how bad it is, and like it would probably be like one of the things that drive me out of the country is the misogyny. Oh, wait. Okay, this wasn't misogyny, but this was, oh my God. It's so funny. I dealt with the funniest micro non-aggressions while I was getting on the plane. That's right, I didn't tell you, you guys don't know about this. So, okay, I was born. More than likely, the country does have rolling blackouts. That is not unique to North Korea, though. I know there are several countries that do have to do rolling blackouts because of their power grid infrastructure not being sufficient. I believe Cuba has had problems with having to enforce rolling blackouts for years. Puerto Rico, unfortunately, is stuck doing rolling blackouts. I would not be surprised if North Korea still does rolling blackouts because they just don't have sufficient power infrastructure, and they prioritize providing that power to the upper echelons of their government. Oh, I want to do story time, but there's 2 minutes to the ad break. Okay, I'm gonna hit ads early. I'm gonna stretch and then story time when I come back. All right. That's right. I can tell you guys about this. Oh boy. No. We're gonna do ads first. Get the ads out of the way. Yes, there is absolutely a lot of disinformation. Hate Driscolls because they are a terrible company, not because they use pesticides. Yes, that is true. There are certain things that I agree it's kind of like a necessary evil. Pesticides is one of them. That is a very good point, Odious. Yes, oh, Kimo! Wait, hang on. Time zone calculation. 9 plus 6 is 15. Wait. What's the threshold for saying Guten Abend or Guten Morgen? technically it's morning, but would you still say good evening versus good morning? Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I feel like I'm starting to see like newspaper headlines about like, if I sound funky, I stood up to stretch, guys. I'm starting to see stories about how people are kind of like, oh yeah, we might have to do rolling blackouts so we can power the data centers. Get that shit out of here. I'm not, bruh, if you schedule a rolling blackout when I want to stream, get out. Get the F out. Nah. Oh man. Dude, I feel so bad for the Philippines because like they've been flooding like crazy this year, haven't they? It's just like 3 a.m. might be barely scraping by as good evening. Yeah, I feel like I keep seeing headlines about the Philippines flooding, and I'm just like, oh my god, are the Philippines okay? I'm worried about them genuinely right now. Hydrate. Yeah. All sorts of craziness happening down there. Oh, good on you, tracking. You are keeping up even though I'm standing up and not seated. Okay, that's neat. That's cool to see my tracking works like this. Hey! You know, I changed the tracking setup, so I keep like looking over to check it and make sure it's working okay. In case anyone's wondering why I keep looking the other way. Wait, you guys. There's a tracking loss animation. Hang on. Yeah. Emmy did such a good job with the tracking. Oh my goodness. Okay. Ads over. Let me put my Ian's back in so we can story time. So 2 stories actually. 2 stories. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about my grandma. I mentioned that my grandma accidentally gave me cholera. So the first time I met my grandma, I don't remember because I was a baby. Like not even, I don't think I was even a year old the first time I met her. Maybe a year old. You know, when I go to ponder in the shower, correct. And so I went up to my grandma and she thought I was thirsty and asking for water. I will explain that in a hot second. So she gave me some water from the well. Now, the problem with this is that as a baby, I did not have a very developed gut flora. So my insides were kind of like, oh, hold up, what's this? And I got cholera, which means basically tiny, like not even 1-year-old Mari was basically like pooping their guts, like diarrhea, like crazy, getting like severe dehydration. Like I don't think any of them realized at the time that there was a very real risk that I could have died if they had not gotten me to the hospital when they did, because my grandma did not live in Seoul. They had to take a bus for a couple hours to get me to Seoul, to get me to a hospital, to get me emergency treatment. It was a complete accident. She didn't mean it. Apparently she felt awful. I didn't know this had even happened until my mom just casually mentioned it one day. I was like, Mom, that sounds like cholera. That can be lethal. And she goes, yeah, you were pretty sick. And it was like, yeah, I was sick. So like I got bused to an emergency room at a hospital in Seoul because they were just like, oh shit, something's up. But hey, I lived. Yeah, exactly. The funniest part about it is that there is a picture my uncle has, and I didn't know this. I didn't know I was sick or why it mattered so much to him. And he likes to show it to me whenever I visit. And it's him holding me. And I'm just like, I thought I was just sleeping. No, apparently it was when I was like sick and not feeling good. What makes the picture so funny is I found out that my cousin, the one I'm closest to, is my uncle's daughter. And she's in the picture too. So we were born the same year. I'm a few months older than her. And she's looking at me in the picture with this major stink eye because we were not even 1 year old. So in her mind, she is like, I barely know, who is this? Hey, Saul, it's good to see you. So she's in this picture looking at me like, who is this and why is she hogging my dad? That is my dad. Who is this person hogging my dad? And apparently at one point she went around and started smacking me and trying to chase me off because she was like, I have had it with you hogging my dad. I want my dad back. I found out, my mom told me that's what happened when that picture was being taken. And I was like, oh, so thank you for the super chat. Aw. And my mom told me, and I was like, do you have any idea how much better that makes this picture? Holy crap. Because it's so funny that like this is the cousin I'm closest to because we're like the closest in age. And apparently when I was sick, she smacked me because she was like, I want my dad back. It's such a funny thing. It's like, I'm basically, I'm sitting there dying and she's like, my dad, please. She doesn't remember that it happened either, probably. That's the best part. Neither of us remember that this happened. Okay, but the micro non-aggressions were so funny. So for context, I was born in neither Korea nor America. I was born in Europe, in a German-speaking country. So my passport lists said country as my place of birth, as a passport does, as it is supposed to do. I am a naturalized citizen. According to the Constitution, I am eligible to run for Congress and for president if I so desire. I am considered a naturalized citizen, although many Americans would also still consider me a first-generation immigrant. Funny how that works in America. Anyways, said my passport lists a German-speaking nation as my place of birth, because that is where I was born. As I'm boarding the plane, the Korea Airlines plane, I'm hearing Korean, I'm hearing English. This is what I expect to be hearing as I board this plane, right? Now, when you board international flights, for those who may not be aware, because I did not realize until I was older, I thought as a kid everyone had a passport. Yeah, that's not the case. Now, so I'm hearing Korean, I'm hearing English. They check your passport when you board international flights. And the lady looks at mine and hands it back. She goes, oh, dankeschön. And I walk past and then I almost stop and like have people bump into me because like my brain was just like, wait. German? Why did we just hear German? So I think the clerk checking my info was like, just saw the country on my passport and said, oh, I'll speak German to her as a little fun bonus. But like my brain was making PS2 startup noises because I was just like, why did I just hear German? I was not expecting to hear German. Why German? German where? So like my mom was like, oh, did you say thank you? Like, you're welcome back. It absolutely, like once I stopped and processed it, it made sense. I was like, oh my God, it's because of the place of birth on my passport. But in the moment when I am bracing for a 15-hour flight, getting on the plane, suddenly hearing German, I was like, huh? What? Warum sprechen Sie Deutsch? Dankeschön. Yeah, exactly. I just hear Dankeschön, and I was like, huh? And then, oh, okay. So on the plane, probably the least racist action. Maybe, but it was just like one of those things that like, I mean, is German a common language? I think that's fair to expect German to be a language that you hear in an international airport. Is German a common language you will hear on a Korea Airlines flight to Korea? Unless your flight is leaving from a German airport, probably not, in all honesty. German, that's the funny thing. My passport, I'm not eligible for a German passport. I'm not eligible for German citizenship. I thought I was, because I misunderstood when I was a kid. I thought I had dual citizenship as a kid. No, I'm just straight up. Wait, maybe? But bitte, yeah, bitte is you're welcome. I do remember that. I think it's bitte schon, not bitte sehr. Sehr, I think, is a pronoun. I'm very rusty on my German. Yeah, I don't both work. Okay, yeah, thanks for that, Kumo. Anyways, point is, very, very funny. Like, it's not even something I'm upset about. It's like looking back on it, it's really funny that it happened, if anything. And then on the plane, unsurprisingly, since Korea Airlines flight, if we're flying to Korea, most of the flight attendants are speaking Korean first, and then if people don't understand, switching to English. And it's just like one of the funniest. I think it does qualify as a microaggression, technically, but also it's so harmless in the grand picture that it's one of those things that it's just funny to me. So during mealtime, he spoke a little too fast for me to catch what he was saying and respond back in Korean. So he realized, he needed to speak English with me. Because apparently they ran out of the other food options, and that wasn't what I was expecting to hear. So like I was sitting there like brain loading. I don't know this sentence in Korean. How am I supposed to respond to this? So he realized that he had to speak English to me. The other people in my row spoke Korean. So with the food, he handed out these small tubes of Korean red chili pepper paste, handed it to the other two, didn't even ask me if I wanted one, and just moved on. And like, it was such a funny, like, not even a conscious thought it can be spicy, but I'm used to the taste of gochujang. If you don't put a lot of it, I think it has like a nice spicy sweet taste. But it was really funny to me that he didn't even like think to ask or offer it. He just assumed I wasn't going to need it or want it, and just moved on. And I was like, okay, buddy, okay. And then I proved I really don't know my Korean later on, because when they brought around the tea service, I asked for soltong, thinking I was asking for I asked for sogum, thinking I was asking for sugar, accidentally asking for salt to put in my tea. And he was just like, I'm just gonna hand you some sugar. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. But hey, big progress in my Korean fluency. I learned at the tender age of 30 undisclosed second digit, I learned the words for left, right, and bathroom. That's right. Bear knows how to ask where the bathroom is in Korean now. Yeah, I would say, like, here's the thing. Gochujang, if you use a lot of it, can be very spicy. You have to kind of like, it can be very potent. And I say this because one time when I was younger, I was tasked with prepping dinner, and my mom said, put the gochujang on the chicken. And I said, how much gochujang? And Mama Mari said, enough to cover the chicken. Now, how do you think young adolescent Mari understood these instructions? The options are A, just, take a little bit and rub it over the chicken to cover the chicken, or B, submerge the chicken in gochujang. The answer is I took it, cover it, to mean submerge. The chicken was basically, like, when we cooked the chicken, we were tearing up. It was like releasing pepper spray into the house. And the chicken basically, it wasn't edible. It was not edible. So, unsurprisingly, I was not given dinner duty after that. Yeah, exactly. She said to cover enough to cover it. I feel like either option would have been a valid interpretation, quite frankly. And syntax error indeed. Absolutely syntax error. But yeah. But it was fun because on the flight back, I had joked with my mom that because I was going to be, immersion, they say immersion is the best practice for learning languages. I had joked with my mom that like she was going to see my Korean get like better for like a few days and then go back to being not so great. And sure enough, I guess my accent must have improved a little bit too, because I have a pretty bad American accent. I try to make the accent right, but I know it's there. But on the flight back, one of the flight attendants was like, she brought back the meal and I asked for the beef stew. And then she goes, "Oh, why is your Korean so good?" And I was just like, "Oh, she said my Korean's good. Oh my gosh. Yay, 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 yay." And it's funny because I am fully aware. And what's bad about my American? No. So it's more, I have an American accent when I speak Korean. So to a native Korean speaker, I have a very noticeable Korean is not my first language accent. And some Koreans, Cruddy talked about this recently, actually. Some Koreans will be assholes about it if they realize you're not like a native Korean. Some Koreans are absolutely dicks about it. I kind of ran into that when I was in college because I wanted to hang out with the Korean Student Association to try to practice my Korean, and they just like, it was one of the few times where like I became aware very quickly that I was being flat out rejected and not wanted in a group. Because I am not, it's more like, there's a lot of cultural aspects in Korean that can be very difficult to explain or intuit if you have not like lived in Korea or grown up around or in the culture. And so to them, I was just like embarrassing, wanting to play at being Korean, a Korean wannabe, who just wasn't getting it kind of thing. And so even though and it was jarring because, I met another girl later on. She was a quarter Korean, but she was more accepted by them because she had lived in Korea for a time and was more culturally Korean. And this is like one of those things when I say like, I'm aware of like the grass is greener on the other side with the culture, right? Like there is a level of acceptance I will never achieve in Korea because I am fundamentally not a native Korean. And I will basically always have indicators of being a foreigner, if that makes sense. Like, it's weird because I do identify more with being Korean because growing up in America, I was constantly singled out for being Asian American and Korean. Even today, as an adult, people see me as Asian first, except for other Asian Americans who see me as white first. So it's a little goofy because I basically got pegged as one thing growing up, and then only to find out that that thing also doesn't exactly embrace me or accept me. Now, if I became famous, Korea would love to embrace me and claim me as their own. They're a little goofy like that, but I think that's not unique to Korea. I think a lot of countries are like that when, someone with direct family ties to a country achieves something. They're kind of like, oh my God, yeah, we're connected to that. Veto. But I'm also aware that like my Korean is basically at like, when people tell me my Korean is good, and thus began my K-pop idol arc, seriously. I am aware that I'm basically at the like Nihongo Jozu equivalent of being told my Korean is good. Like my relatives, I think my relatives were genuinely impressed, especially compared to like 20 years ago. Because again, they can see that I'm actually attempting to construct sentences. I know certain words. I have some understanding of grammar. I can kind of intuit what they're saying. So I know, like, especially for my aunts, it is a genuinely, like, they are telling me it's better because they want to encourage me to keep practicing and improving. But, you know, it's very much that kind of, like, I'm at that, like, Nihongo Jozu threshold version of Korean. It doesn't help that when I was in college, I did try to take Korean classes. And I asked the professor, hey, is there a proficiency exam I can take to place me? Because I taught myself how to read Hangul. I don't know vocabulary or grammar though. And she refused to let me take 101 to learn grammar. So I went straight to 102 and the TAs were like, I don't understand why your spelling and grammar are off sometimes because you generally have a better accent than everyone else and seem to like understand stuff. And it's just like, I am literally reverse engineering grammar as we go because she wouldn't let me take 101 because it would have been an easy A. Nah, we can't have you taking an easy A even though you don't know grammar or spelling. So there's still like certain words that like I don't pronounce right because I technically don't know how the letter's pronounced in certain combinanations. Like I'm basically winging it, which doesn't help with the accent. And it's just like, oh well. Well, okay, so Japanese, I think years of being an anime fan contributed. Snake Eater. Speaking of Snake Eater, I think I am going to aim for Snake Eater cover this year. I think that will be good. Yes. There's no further thought to that. I was just like, yeah, I should just go ahead and do a Snake Eater cover. I should probably start saving for that. Yeah, I should start saving for that. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. What else is there? What else is there that happened in Korea? Many yummy things. Drank lots of bubble tea. What else? Oh, I found an incredible shirt that has a hamster. I am gonna be honest, I had considered like asking if anyone would be interested in like providing some backup vocals and being featured as a backup vocal as a fun little thing. What else is there? So yeah, might do Snake Eater cover. Streams are going to be once a week for the time being. The thoughts got jumbled just now. I will probably be opening my case of holo cards on stream. Might be a few weeks before we have a Gunpla stream just because I am trying to rest my wrist. Space Marine. Oh, yes. The Warhammer mini fig paint happened. The thought tried to come out. It did not come out coherently. I have a Warhammer miniature starter set that I want to experiment with trying to paint and just seeing what it's like. Probably not going to react to the Bricky Space Marine video because now I'm at a point where I actually know stuff about the Space Marine. So like it like basically I'm coming into it with knowledge. It wouldn't be the fun blind reaction like it was with the factions video. I I have started reading Warhammer novels. Yes, okay, yes, that was the other thing. I experimented with putting out a reading vlog. That was actually pretty fun. At first, I was gonna try to make one for each book I finished, and then I kind of read Dune too fast, and I realized I might have to go with a monthly release schedule. And then I spent all of May like not really reading, and I'm like slogging through 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea because basically I'm taking a detour now before I go back to Warhammer. I might detour again to finish reading Fate Strange Make before I go back to Horus Heresy, because I think I figured out my plan of attack for Horus Heresy, which is going to be, I'm going to read the 12 main novels that Games Workshop recommends as like the core Horus Heresy novels. And then I am going to go back and fill in the gaps with the other books based on the flowchart that Ninjash made for me. And then like, maybe someday I'll read all 64 books, who knows? Yeah, I don't know what happened with Dune. Like so I need to work on the script for basically the general catch-up vlog. They are not going to be consistent monthly releases because I think there are going to be some months where I'm just not gonna, like, depending on the book I'm reading, I'm just not gonna have the book finished. Or it's gonna be a case where, you know, I was recovering from jet lag and reading wasn't really a priority this past month. So I need to work on that, the script, and put out just a general summary vlog talking about the last 4 Dune books, and then what was it called? Avenging Sun? It's a Warhammer. There's 2 Warhammer novels, 4 Dune books, and did I read another book in between there? No, I think it was basically the 4 Dune books and the 2 Warhammer books. Wait, did I check? I wrote it down. Vanda, hello! Welcome in! Wait, where's my... Oh, I have it written down somewhere. Where did it go? I feel like there was more than just those 6. Was it more than just those 6? Was there more? Did I read more? Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune... Oh, I watched quote-unquote Wuthering Heights. That was a film. It was media content. Oh, no, that's what the other thing was. I rewatched Pacific Rim. Offset your reading. Yeah, exactly. So it's not going to be a consistent monthly thing. It's just going to be like, but I am going to, yay, Kumo, good night, sleep well. Thank you for stopping by. It was good to see you. It will not be a consistent monthly thing, but it is going to be more like, all right, I read like 4 or 6 books like over the past couple months. Let's go, let's summarize. And maybe as I get back into reading more consistently, it'll pick up. But, oh wow, I meant to mention this like an hour ago. Okay, it's funny that you say it botched so hard because I adore Pacific Rim. I absolutely... Are there things that it could have done better? Yes, we could have had way more Cherno Alpha. Like, we did not have enough Cherno Alpha in that movie. But that opening scene where the main theme riff is going and they're suiting up and dropping into the pod, yo, I watched that scene like 8 times on the plane. If anyone was like shoulder watching what was on my entertainment screen, they they were probably confused why I kept watching that scene over and over. And it's because that is a scene where I'm just like, Guillermo del Toro understands the romance of mecha. I like to choose to not acknowledge the sequels, because they definitely killed the franchise and any potential it would have had. I think the movie is a love letter and a homage to the genres it pays tributes to. It does fall into the trappings of the tropes that make up that genre, but I think you know, as something that was meant to be a love letter to those things, that is not a bad thing. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm aware of its flaws, but I still adore it in spite of its flaws, because to me, it is a sincere ode and love letter to those genres of like mecha and kaiju movies and whatnot. Yeah, okay, for those wondering about the sequels, I'm just gonna say this. The less you know about the sequels, the better. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, the fanfics. Yeah, the only sequel that matters to me is that one fan comic of Cherno Alpha and Crimson Typhoon surviving. That is the only sequel that is canon to me in my heart. Comrade Squid, where is shore? God, and the soundtrack too, I forgot. Yeah, exactly. Like, Pacific Rim, in my opinion, is not something that needed to be a franchise, and it's fine that it's not a franchise. Would it have been neat to see it as a franchise? No, not really. I think it was fine as a standalone movie. It didn't need to be more than that. Yeah, that's just how I feel about that. Soundtrack, so damn good. Dude, when that guitar kicks in and then you find out it's freaking Tom Morello and it's just going like it has to make a wash. Yeah, it's so crazy when you like encounter like one of those foundational works. Like, that was one of the most interesting things about reading Dune. And I think that's why, even though I really wasn't enjoying the last two books that I read through, I still kind of pushed through it. It was kind of like, there might be something that gets referenced in these last two books. And I want to be able to point at Warhammer and be like, hey, reference. Those last two books were so painful, you guys. I don't know how I got through them, quite frankly. Oh, there was so much weird shit in there. Oh, Frank Herbert, what happened, man? Like, if you plan to read Dune and you want to read it past the first novel, stop at the fourth. You can stop at the fourth novel. You do not need to read Heretics in Chapter House, in my opinion. You're probably better off not reading Heretics in Chapter House. Yeah, exactly. Dune being like a grandfather of sci-fi and something that apparently Warhammer heavily references. I was wondering how long it would take before I was like, hey, reference. Page one of the first Dune novel, and they're already talking about the Imperium. And I'm like, oh, that didn't take long at all. Oh man, yeah, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where like when you go back and watch it, it's like going back and watching like Evangelion or the original Gundam, and you're just kind of like, what's so revolutionary about this? I see this everywhere. And you have to remember that it's like, that's where a lot of those tropes, a lot of those things like first appeared or showed up for the first time. And it's kind of like, oh, right, yeah, okay, this is like a foundational load-bearing like franchise trope establisher kind of thing. So it's crazy like how much stuff as you're reading Dune, you're going through it and you're kind of like, wait a second, hang on a minute, this is where they got that idea? Oh, all right, neato. and then it jumps the shark, or the worm in this case, and there was a lot of weird sex stuff. Not would you expect something from 1976. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Ash Shadow Joe is one of those things that like you hear it mentioned every now and then. The Herberts lost the plot. Yeah, Yeah. Yeah, you were doing it. That's where that came from. Yeah, exactly. Like that's even, yeah, even when you're watching an old work and you're just kind of like, oh my God, I've seen this before. It's like when you have that moment of realization of like, wait, that's where this came from. Like this is what people are, okay. The first book, absolutely worth the read. Every book after that, I would say it feels like a stopping point where if you don't want to keep reading, you don't have to. I would recommend personally a hard stop at book 4 if you insist. Like I did not read the novels written by, or the continuation written by Frank Herbert's son. I stopped at the 6th novel that was the 6th and final novel that was written by Frank Herbert. I didn't read the ones that were supposedly based on his notes. Kind of. So rough overview of the plot. I'm going to do my best to avoid specific spoilers. I've seen this before with a very specific decade of anime. Shows where the cross counter comes from. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, so basically there's 2 sets of sequels. There's like the actual sequels to the actual Dune novel, and then after Frank Herbert passed, his son and another collaborator continued the franchise, supposedly based on notes and outlines that were left by Frank Herbert. I chose not to read those. I would say though, Dune, the first book, definitely a solid recommend if you're interested in sci-fi, you know, the grandfather of sci-fi, where, you know, in like some of the tropes and stuff that comes up. Dune Messiah, not a bad. So my understanding is that Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune were kind of like planned as a trilogy from the start. And so they are all kind of coherent. And then God Emperor of Dune, I think is still worth reading because some of the stuff that became like memes about Dune, or some of the more mimetic stuff about Dune, does come from God Emperor of Dune. After God Emperor of Dune, however, I do not really recommend it. There's like, okay, how do I explain this? How okay, I'm trying to think. Comparing it to the Star Wars films and the sequel trilogy, yeah, that's not a bad idea, but okay, how do I explain this? The books, okay, the books got progressively weirdly hornier as I read them. Does that like, yes, thank you, Linda. Like book 1, like there really isn't a lot that comes up. Book 2, weird. There's a couple scenes that I'm like, okay, whatever. It was the 70s, sure. Weird subplot there. It's whatever. It's sci-fi. As each book goes on, like I know it was the 70s, but like, was this really necessary to the plot? By the last book, yes. No, okay, wait, where's my Kobo? Hang on, there's an annotation that is basically almost exactly that. Where is it? I have the annotation, I know it's there. Where is it? It was the 70s, so allegedly, yes, yeah. All right, okay. Let's see what my helpful annotations provide. Sorry, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I have to stop looking at you for a bit. Books. series. Dune. All right. Let's check the annotations for the third novel. Okay, yeah. So, there is a point in the third book early on where we are just, so for context, we are discussing a 9-year-old pair of twins, and suddenly you come across this gem in a sentence: had shared in the siege orgy. My annotation is simply a bewildered all caps, they are 9? You know? So, you know, that's like one of those things that kind of like oh yeah, there's a moment where suddenly we're talking about there was an adult beef swelling in his loins, and he felt his mouth open, holding, clinging to the girder shape of ecstasy. Then a sigh, a lingering brown swelling, sweetness, a collapse. Oh, how sweet to let that come into existence. And my annotation is simply, I'm sorry? What? That's in the third book. Second book, let's see if I have anything noted there. No, thankfully nothing weird there. Book 4, do I have anything goofy? Oh, yes, there was, okay. Book 4 has a character watching someone rock climb. And here's a quote. Nayla wondered, though, if she might experience an orgasm should Idaho reach the top. He was so close to it now. We then get this incredible follow-up pages later. It was only when she saw the rope come snaking down that Nayla had her orgasm. Frank Herbert, what the shit? Ian Watson versus Lake Dune, who wins? Let's see. I know I have some choice annotations. Oh yeah, this early passage, but it sent strong sexual signals to the males around her. Like, what? What? Oh, wait, what? What is this line? Oh wait, this one isn't cursed, but it is funny. I am pregnant with my empire. I'll die giving birth to it. And my comment was apparently warm preg. Like, what? Okay, that's a comment I put in God I'm perp too. Oh, okay. 5 is where it started getting real sexy. Yeah, it's not suggesting. It like, so like, in like the first few novels, you're kind of like, okay, like they're kind of hinting at it, but they're not just saying it. And then like as it goes on, like, okay, next one. Big breasts in a woman and hard loins in a man, that tightly muscular look to the buttocks. These were naturally important sexual matchings. And then, so I wrote, I'm crying. And then, but without the eyes, the rest of it could go for nothing. Eyes were essential. You could drown in the right kind of eyes, he had learned. Sink right into them and be unaware of what was being done to you until penis was firmly clasped in vagina. I simply comment in all caps, oh, I should have kept reading. What on earth? Yeah. If I recall correctly, Heretics of Dune is where there is straight up a smut passage. Like, it is straight up smut. And the context is that apparently, two characters are basically fighting to sexually imprint on the other one to like control them, and they end up like mutually sexually bonded to each other and sexually addicted to each other or something, and they have like 4 babies. Yeah, it gets weirdly horny as the novels continue. Do I have any fascinating annotations that I marked from the final novel? No, I don't, thankfully. I think I think at that point I was just kind of like, I can't do it. I can't keep annotating these. So yeah, there are some interesting passages in the later Dune novels. Was the dude just really horny and lonely while writing this? No idea. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like this is fine in a group setting because we can all emotionally support each other through this. There was also a passage where I thought Frank Herbert was being really progressive because there was like a let's go lesbians moment, and one of the characters is like, what do you mean they're in lesbians with each other? And another character is like, what's wrong with them being in lesbians with each other? But no, it turns out Frank Herbert was actually like mad crazy homophobic. And this was not, in fact, surprisingly early endorsement representation like I thought it was. It was just him like, apparently not positive. It was, in fact, apparently lesbian representation, parentheses, negative, close parentheses. So yeah, that was unfortunate. But also, the other thing, all the weird, horny stuff aside, right? Because it was really difficult. Game of Thrones. Okay, when Game of Thrones came out, I actually ended up dropping the series because there was a scene that I could not take seriously in the book or in the show, and I just couldn't watch or read it anymore after that. It was when someone birthed the shadow demon thing, and I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done with this. Goodbye, bye. I'm not engaging with this further. I can make choices in my life. I'm going to curate my life experience, and my life will be better not having experienced past this. Thanks. Bye. Nice to meet you, George R.R. Martin. Have a nice life. But I will say, yeah, exactly. No, that scene happens pretty early, and I was kind of like, oh, if this is where we're going with stuff, I'm no longer on board. Goodbye. It was a very early departure for me. I was just like, nope. And then I watched as the seasons continued, and yeah. There's some stuff where it's kind of like, you're kind of like, this is getting weirdly horny, but you know, it doesn't feel like we're at risk of like smut happening. And then it's kind of like, all right, I feel like we're getting closer and closer to the smut threshold. And then the smut happens and you're like, all right, yeah, we've crossed it. All right, we've crossed that Rubicon of writing, story, plot, development. So, that happened. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. But yeah, the other thing too with Dune, and I think one thing that does make it difficult to follow, is that Dune starts off in the first few novels, as very much being a story that is following one character. So it's really funny because there's a lot of stuff that, like, when you start tracing it back, you can find a lot of influences. Like, my dad became interested in Halo recently, and I mentioned that it was interesting how, like, the Spartan procedure and the Spartan power armor reminded me of Warhammer. Because I thought my dad was into Warhammer. It turns out, no, it was just a passing interest. And he was like, yeah, but they're different. And I'm like, yeah, but they do seem similar. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Warhammer did serve as an inspiration to some aspects of, like, the Spartan program in Halo. And then, like, a few days later, he's like, yeah, so you mentioned that, and then I found a video talking about exactly that. And it's like, okay, yeah. So, in the way you can say Game of Thrones inspired Dark Souls, which was inspired off Berserk, you can kind of say, like, Halo took some inspiration from Warhammer, which took some inspiration from Dune. So I think that's just really common in media in general. Like, you see that a lot. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be inspired by like certain elements of that. But the other thing about Dune is that I feel like, you know, early Dune kind of it does kind of keep it consistent. Like, it is like a character driven narrative, but you go from like focusing solely on like what's happening immediately around one character to something significantly grander in scale. And I feel like that makes the later novels also feel kind of difficult to follow. Fantastic Space, yeah, inspires less so for dark. Yeah. So, you know. But I probably shouldn't ramble too much about Dune, because that's like, technically I should put that in the video. I should go in the video, technically. Which I need a script. Technically, I gotta script that video still. Oh, fun little thing I noticed while reading Dawn of War, which was a Warhammer novel. My friend who recommended the Bricky videos to me recommended I check that out before going further into the Horus Heresy, because they thought it would be fun as a look into like the current 40,000 setting of Warhammer, like the actual 40,000 setting, because Horus Heresy is obviously more 30,000 past Imperium, not quite like what the current modern story setting is. So they recommended it as a quick detour for, you know, just getting that modern setting. And there was one absolutely fascinated to see that, how do I explain this? How do I summarize this? Absolutely fascinated to discover that theater kids are alive and well in the Imperium, and they're members of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Belisarius Call, I know what you are. You are a theater kid. You are fooling no one. Okay? I know what you are. You are fooling no one with your shenanigans. Yeah, like there was a scene with him and I was like, oh, okay. Glad to see this demographic survives in the future. The Dawn of War having books. There was also a fascinating passage about how the Primaris Marines were trained. And I was like, hey, isn't this literally what part of the plot of Metal Gear Rising was about? This is literally like that plot line when Sundowner manifested when he's talking about the good old days after 9/11. And I was just looking at it, I was like, this is Sundowner. This is Sundowner in Metal Gear Rising. What? I mean, I was just sitting there like, like, okay, we're just here now. Oh my God. Okay, no. So it wasn't the kidnapping little kids and tearing out their brains and putting them into cyborg bodies that was the plot. It was more that like they were basically giving the kids virtual war theater training by like the cybernetic stuff. Like they were basically being trained in VR, right? And there is a passage in the book where essentially you're giving a glimpse of like how the Primaris Marines were trained while they were in stasis. And it is essentially, they were basically run through VR augmented reality scenarios and combat scenarios over and over, to the point that like a lot of the reactions and whatnot that they need to have are second nature, which I found fascinating, because you do get a chapter of one of the Primaris Marines and he's basically like dissociating while his body autopilots combat, and he's like, you know, like I thought that was like one of the more interesting chapters, like have him kind of be like trying to process like that his body is doing these things that he's barely conscious of. Like Dawn of War definitely had some interesting stuff, but it also made me want to go back to Horus Heresy. But then I went on my sci-fi detour, And after reading Dune, I was like, I just need something that I know is going to be like standard, consistent. Jules Verne, come here. How many options do you have to train a population to defreeze? Yeah, pretty much. But it was just one of those things where it was kind of like, oh, I know Kojima was a film buff. Is he also a Warhammer buff? Discombobulate. Yeah, discombobulate. 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 But yes, very much enjoy that Belisarius Call is a theater kid. And then I read Evil Sun Rising. That was fun. That was a short read. I enjoyed that. That was an orc novel. There were funny lines in that book. That's the one where, hang on, where are the quotes? I can't do the orc accent. You guys are just gonna have to deal with that accent not being done. I can't do an estuary accent. Oh. I looked at my first annotation and it simply says, an Omega Marine with a penchant for plasma weaponry. And my comment is simply, wild line in the era of ABO. Sometimes I reread my annotations and I'm like, damn, I was on fire. I simply have the phrase flying buttresses highlighted with the comment mbison.yes.gif. I did watch the Arbiter Ian video on that because I was like, what is this about knobs? And it was actually a really fascinating video. I really enjoyed it and what he pointed out in it. I thought it was a very good watch. For those who don't know, Arbiter Ian put out a video regarding the orc accent and how, you know, it's not quite what a lot of people think it is. I think a lot of people default to it being like a Cockney accent of sorts. In reality, it is more of a common London estuary area accent that is more associated with being a working class accent. And it's really neat because he kind of goes into how it indicates like the sort of satire that was intended with the orcs when Games Workshop was writing them. It's very British AF. Oh wait, I'm in Dawn of Fire. This isn't the orc novel. But I do have this one that says, she sat on the floor scrimshawing a finger bone with her knife. And apparently I wrote, damn, okay, pop off, queen. So that, okay. Yeah, I have checked out a few of his videos here and there, and like in general, I do find some of those videos enjoyable. Oh wait, I don't think it's gonna be in this folder. Evil Sun Rising, where are you, funny orc novel? You was here for 2 reasons. He held up 3 fingers. Fabulous. One of my personal favorite passages from Evil Sun Rising. Well, said Snickup, what you lying around for? I'm too busy to beat you. Punch yourself in the face. Frick sighed and sat up. He began smacking himself as instructed. And then, of course, the line that got me to read the novel to begin with. Reactors up to 90% of tolerance, boss, said Bosgap. Caution must be taken when interfacing ionic technologies, especially those that originate with alien species whose consciousness wavelengths are incompatible with the physically motivated etheric generators of the Quark, said Talker. I simply commented, yay! Because that was the line that got me to read the book. I love the weird boys. They say such funny things. But yes, Evil Sun Rising, very fun romp. I was able to knock it out in one day. It is not that long. It's a few hundred pages. It's orcs. You have a good time with them. Oh, it's fun. Orcs is orcs. The boys is the boys. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of Arbiter Ian stuff, but when it does come up, if like the topic is interesting to me, I will check out his videos. You know, the thing is, Panda, you say you can't wait for 40K ABO. First of all, I guarantee you there is already self-published 40K ABO. Second of all, do Space Wolf novels count as ABO by default? I won't know until I actually read a Space Wolf novel. Hopefully not. I really hope they don't. It will be very awkward if Chazin always seems to be having a good time. Oh man. Yeah, the orcs. I think orc novels are going to be one of those things that, like, whenever I need a chaser, I go to an orc novel and I just, you know, have a cheeky scrap with the lads, so to speak. I think it'll be fun reading more orc stuff. But I do, once I finish 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas, Space Wolves as puppies, automatic win. Yeah. Oh, wait, shit, already another ad break? Okay, I did not think I was going to manage to go a couple hours. I usually don't do chatting streams because I'm like, shit, what am I going to talk about? And then I forgot I stream of Conscious Ramble. Okay, yeah, here we are. Ad break soon. That means I need to stretch and drink some more water and give Scrimblow some pets. Waha. Wahaha. What else? Off to As You Go. I know, come back soon, Vanda. Yes, Scrimblow. Oh, right. That's the other thing we need to talk about when we get back from ads. Hang tight, y'all. Ads start soon. I do gotta address an elephant that I forgot was in the room with us. How did I forget the elephant was in the room? We were talking about other things. You guys know what we were talking about. You were here for most of it. We talked about a lot of things. I de-shrimped and oh, that was a much needed shrimp check. Shrimp check. Okay. Let me get up so I can stretch. A stretch. Stretch. Oh yeah, I need to get one of those explodey emotes. I think once I get new emotes made, that will probably be when we seriously consider an actual debut stream with like slides and credits and everything. All that fun stuff. Okay. I finished my water. I need to get more water. Water! That one's for all the Kamen Rider Wizard fans in the audience. I haven't actually watched Wizard. I just love the transformation jingles because they're so goofy and normy. And apparently annoying because they kept playing them. I need to go get stuff. I'm going to keep rambling in the background because I didn't bother muting my mic, because what do you mean I remember how to do things when stream things? Wait, is the mic even? Oh, it is picking up a little bit. That's fine. Rimble, how you doing? Listen to all of Epic the Musical. Oh, I've heard about Epic. I have not actually checked it out. Okay, yeah, for those who don't know, a lot of tokusatsu, especially Kamen Rider, the transformation trinkets tend to have little jingles and whatnot that play when they transform. And in Kamen Rider Wizard, they had a very goofy one that I went like, how do I do this? I shabba-dooba-touch the hand-shin, I shabba-dooba-touch the hand-shin, and it's so goofy and I love it, but apparently it also gets old very quick. Shabba-dooba-touch the hand-shin. Wait, do I have the browser thing turned on? Is my browser source turned on? Can I just play it in the background and confuse everyone who's not stuck in ads right now? Is that something I can do? Hang on. Surely it'll come up and everyone will be very confused. All right, here we go. Here we go. Will it play? Let's find out.
Driver on. Freeze. Frame. Freeze.
Yeah. Oh, he has multiple forms, by the way. He has elemental sounds. He has elemental forms. They all have their own unique jingles. Wait, where's the actual animations? All right, Henshin. I've been meaning to watch Wizard. Wait, why are these subtitles in French? Oh, hey, Vanda. Yeah, this section of the stream is probably gonna get muted. Wait, where's the water one? The water one is so good. Showtime da. Wait, I need the water henshin. The water henshin is, I think, my favorite. It's very good. I just like that it has a little barbershop quartet vibe to it. Yeah, there is so much Kamen Rider. I have not been able to fully keep up with the Reisei era. I should, though. I should. I've been meaning to. I've just been very bad about it. Right, elephant in the room. So it sounds like it is very likely that stream elements will not be around in the future. I've heard that they are looking for a buyer. So far, everything is still up and working. Now, this is going to affect a few things on the stream. The main one is that a lot of the widgets that I use, like the counter widgets, especially for like the scrimble count, the girl fail count, depending on what happens with the widget makers and whether or not they can be hosted somewhere else or translated to a different app, they may end up disappearing. I have found a multi-chat option. However, it does require me to migrate to StreamerBot. Now, the snag there is that normally translating things, so I have the counter set up currently in Mix It Up. The snag is that I don't want to have to run both applications while streaming. So if I do move to StreamerBot in order to make use of a multi-chat, then it is going to basically come with me trying to migrate everything from Mix It Up to StreamerBot to the best of my ability. And I mentioned that because unfortunately, with the check-in counters being done through Mix It Up, I don't know if it is possible to transfer the current counts, basically. So depending on what happens with stream elements, the counters may end up reset, basically. Because I found Mix It Up more intuitive and easier to use than StreamerBot when I first looked into getting one of those set up. So I mostly worked off of Mix It Up because I found it easier to use, but the multi-chat I found only functions off of StreamerBot technically because of a WebSocket server, I believe, which Mix It Up does not have the capability for. I think technically StreamerBot is supposed to be the more flexible one. It just has the higher learning curve. But yeah, like, yes, technically I could just keep everything on Mix It Up and run StreamerBot just for the multi-chat, but I'd rather not be goofy with the PC resources like that, if that makes sense. So yeah, there may be a period in the future where chat's not working on screen, widgets aren't working, certain commands and redeems aren't working. I will do my best to be mindful and turn off any point redeems that rely on that. If I forget, I will do my best to refund points for all that stuff, but some toggles and redeems may end up disappearing for a bit depending on what happens with the stream elements situation. So yeah, that's that. That's the elephant in the room with stream elements. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe someone will buy them and business will continue as usual and we don't have to migrate anywhere. Who knows? Lots of things could happen in this day and age. For you know, next thing you know, maybe someone's gonna bulldoze like the east wing of Twitch HQ to build a bunker. Yeah. Final form of all digital companies selling out. Okay, I feel like, okay, here's the question. Is the final form of all digital companies selling out or turning out to have not been making money at all and lying about their profitability? I feel like it's a toss-up between those two options, quite frankly, at this point. They either sell out or it turns out that like they were being held together by like string and nowhere near like what people thought they were. Oh, I got so confused when I was trying to test stuff today because I actually remember to test things is both fake until they get a buyer that can't read. Selling out or selling in. So true, y'all. Oh yeah. Okay, the games. There was something about games I was gonna say. Probably expect a few Uma Musume streams in the future. Even though I suck at the game. Right! That was the other thing. Speaking of selling out. The other thing about easing back on the 1 day a week thing is that, I liked streaming because streaming can be fun. I have been having fun tonight. I think I forgot how to have fun with streaming, so that's another reason for not jumping back into like multiple days a week, you know, just balancing all that better for myself and keeping it going and just, you know, learning to have fun with it again because, you know, it's very easy to get caught up in like the numbers game and it's like, oh, you're not growing because you're not doing this, and then like the things you have to do is like slave away and spend like a crazy amount of time like doing stuff in 5 different platforms. And I'm not saying this to like disrespect people who do commit to doing that, right? I have nothing but respect to the people who are able to manage to do that, manage that, and do what they need to do to grow and manage that hustle. But you know, I'm very much one of those people who's very affected by like, hey, I'm not having fun with this. This is starting to feel like pulling teeth, and getting teeth pulled is unpleasant. So it's kind of like, all right, let's relearn how to have fun with this and go from there. And then if stuff starts scaling up from there, cool. I'm on Adderall now. Maybe that'll help. So yeah, I don't know. It just feels goofy to have to sit there and be like, all right, what do I have to post to like, and again, I'm not saying this to just some people who do it. There are a lot of people I know who are very near and dear to me who put a ton of work into figuring out the algorithm and growing from it and all that stuff. But I think for me, there's a very low threshold for me personally where it starts to feel disingenuous, and I feel like I'm just like trying to be what the algorithm wants me to be. And it's like, nah, like, even if it's not profitable, like, I want to unapologetically be me. The whole point of streaming in my character is that I'm trying to find time to do things I want to do and unapologetically be myself. And I need to remember that core. Like, if I lose that core, I've lost what makes me Ursa Marida. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm rambling. That's what this whole stream has been. It has been 2 hours and 16 minutes of me rambling. You guys have sat here and listened to me ramble for hours. That's incredible. Bear tangent, correct. Correct. This has absolutely been a bear tangent. What else is there? Yeah, honestly, it's nice to be back. This has been fun. Like, I was kind of worried leading up to this stream. I was genuinely worried that this might be it. I was like, what happens if I don't get the motivation back? I don't get the inspiration back. I'm not having fun with it anymore. And I was kind of like worried that there was a real possibility that I would truly be calling it quits for real by the end of the year. But I'm starting to feel like those worries were unfounded now, which is a very nice feeling to have. Yeah, MGS Master Collection 2. I am not watching any of the promotional materials because I have no idea what's going to be in there. My knowledge of Metal Gear Solid 4 at the moment is that, this break has been, it started out as a break because I was exploding at work and couldn't keep up. And then like, as I was in Korea, I was kind of like, it sucks that this break ended up being so long. The music isn't helping, I'm sorry. It sucked that the break ended up being a lot longer than I had originally intended, but by the end of it, it genuinely felt like the disconnect and refresh that I needed. I've done a couple things like delete Twitter off my phone to like stop doom scrolling all the time. So I'm on Twitter a lot less now. That alone has been a huge help mentally, just like kind of staying away from constantly reading up and seeing the latest drama and stuff. So that alone was like really good and very healthy for me. Probably one of the healthiest things I've done for myself recently, if I'm being honest. I was deleting Twitter off my phone. You know, just the times we live in these days. What can I say? But yeah. The thought just kind of stopped in my head. There was no continuation of the thought after that. Yeah, the thought just ended. There was nothing further. I feel like there should have been more to that thought. There was not more to that thought. Sorry about that. Yeah. I'm slowly starting to feel some Gunpla motivation coming back. So that's good. That's always good. What else is there? I feel like I've covered most of what I wanted to touch on for this stream today. We've talked about what I've been up to, what some of my plans are, what you guys can expect in the future, some other concerns and stuff. Did I ever finish firing those rent lowering shots? For those who don't know what I'm talking about with the rent lowering shots, it's there was a Tumblr post or something a while ago of basically a guy would go out and occasionally shoot his gun into the air just to keep the property prices from going up too much, from people thinking there's like a low crime rate. So sometimes people will joke about firing rent lowering shots as a way to kind of like get people to leave being around them or like clear the people around. Yeah. Yeah, imagine being so concerned about property prices that you basically fake gun crime to keep housing affordable. America, fuck yeah. So let me fire off a couple of those. I personally do not think these are particularly controversial opinions. Some people might disagree, and unfortunately, if you're the kind of person who disagrees with these opinions, this is probably not the stream for you, and I hold nothing against you, and I bear you no ill will, but, you know, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. So if you're not cool with the following, Thanks for sticking around today. But it's probably for the best if we don't see each other again. All right, here we go. Rent lowering shot time. I'm pro-LGBT, I'm pro-trans rights. I think the ballroom is a bunch of bullshit and the $1.8 billion slush fund is absolutely insane and should not be a thing. All right, rent lowering shots over. Okay, there we go. Again, I don't think these are particularly controversial views, but I know for some people they are. So yeah, that's that. Unfortunately, because America be the way it be, the rent lowering gunshots will happen occasionally. I'll try not to make them too frequent though, but I just figured, you know, since I just came back after a long break, oh shit, Panda, that's a good point. All right, 1.8 billion in actual slushies. Okay, hang on. Panda might be onto something there. You might be onto something with that, Panda. But yeah, I just figured since it's been a while, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to just get that out there now. And if people, you know, aren't cool with that, that's fine. We can leave on peaceful terms. It doesn't need to be bitter. That's all. Now I'm thinking about what 1.8 billion in actual slushies would look like. Like, how many swimming pools would that be? And I guess it depends, like, are you buying the slushies at like 7-Eleven? Are you getting them wholesale somewhere? Are you getting like a wholesale discount? How much like coolant stuff, churning do you need to fill a pool with slushies and maintain the slushy texture? What slushy flavoring would be like the most pleasant to swim in or wash off? Because I imagine there's certain ones where the dyes are going to be like a pain to wash off, or they're like unpleasantly sticky. I feel like a red slushy would kind of be a butt to wash off, or like you'd get out and it'd get like all sticky and you'd get flies all over you or something like that. If you could swim in a pool filled with slushy, what slushy flavor would you choose to swim in? I am seriously thinking about this question right now. Okay, all right, slushy flavors. Blue flavor, okay, that blue flavor, all right, we got a blue. I'm thinking Sprite flavor slushy. One, it would be delicious. And then two, I would smell nice afterwards because I like lemon lime. Blue flavor is good. Are you talking about just like any generic blue or like blue raspberry blue specifically? Just a bajillion pounds of slushy, yeah. I could get behind that. I think I'm bad at math, also blue. See, I wouldn't mind my taxpayer dollars going towards slushies. I like slushies. We're coming up on slushy season where I start drinking a concerning amount of slushy beverages because it's warm and I like to stay cool. Slushies, my beloved. Sorry, taking a moment to hydrate. Speaking of being in warmer weather, make sure you are hydrating. It's very important to hydrate. Red or blue slushy with ice cream. You know, I don't think outside of like blue raspberry. Okay. So you guys are like pretty all in on the blue. Okay, all right, I respect it. I personally am not a blue slushy gal, but I respect it. It's classic. Your mouth turns blue. Blue would kind of go a little weird with the color scheme for me at the moment, but it could still work, you know, as it does. Okay, so I am basically out of topics to yap about. So, overall, it was lovely being back and catching up with everyone tonight. I hope everyone has been doing well. You guys have been taking care of yourselves. I have been doing my best to take care of myself. I plan to be back next week. If the case arrives, we will probably open the case and cry as I try to pull, as I hope for my hits. Okay, so in a card game case, for those not familiar with trading card games, buying a case guarantees a certain number of hits of certain ratios. So the cards come in varying rarities, and in a case, there will be a certain number of, like, you're guaranteed to get a certain number of, like, a certain rarity. So, like, for example, you got a girlfriend? Oh my gosh, Vanta! Oh, a girlfriend. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. Ah, you got a girlfriend. Congratulations. So as an example, a case of the HoloLight card game in particular will come with a copy of the standard version of every Oshi card within that play set. So there are certain guarantees. No matter what, I will have close to a playable Ursa deck after opening the case. So that part's the guaranteed. It's just whether or not those guaranteed hits, are they going to be Ursa cards, or am I going to be sitting with like a bunch of other holo mems? And then depending on who they are, I don't know if I'll keep them or not. So that's what the crying's gonna be over. Basically that. But yeah, so the only reason why I won't have a fully playable deck is that I think there's a couple support cards from previous sets that get used, but I'm pretty sure I already have those cards. Hey there, sorry for you to come in at this moment. We were just wrapping up. So if the case arrives in time, we'll open the case next week. If not, I'll figure it out from there. Who knows? I did end up starting Space Marine 2, but I'm still pretty early, so it probably wouldn't be an issue for me to start over, I think. Or I don't know. I'm still so early that, like, I don't think it would be an issue to recap how far I got. Like, I put on the power armor, I shot some space bugs, and there's bad guys now. Hilariously, I almost accidentally made, it's so funny. Is it worth playing? What system was Space Marine 1 on? I actually don't know. What was I gonna say though? I was looking at the heraldry section in Space Marine 2, and I was, because my friend Barks was, please say like, oh, I wish I could. My friend who got me into Warhammer was like showing me where to find all the cosmetics and stuff. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh, that's funny. Where are the, oh shit, I just blinked on the faction. Damn it, what are they called? Shit. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Thousand Suns. I was sitting there and I'm like, well, that's funny. I wonder why the Thousand Suns aren't here. Probably because their helmet's a little goofy because they have the ancient Egypt thing going. Play the next mission. There's a reason why the Thousand Suns aren't in the Herald options. I was so close to making a connection there, and I did not. And then my friend was like, oh, that is funny. Why aren't the Thousand Suns there? But then I was just like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, because then they have to make the asset for their helmets. I am hoping that if I can get a little more comfortable with stuff, possibly doing co-op with you guys in Space Marines 2 could be a fun option to look into in the future. That would depend on availability and whatnot, though. I'm not going to make any hard promises. It is a possibility. I am, like, basically, it's like something I do want to consider looking into in the future. I did try out Rogue Trader. Kinda didn't enjoy it. I don't know if it's just you need to get past a certain part, but from what I did try out, it kind of just wasn't, like, I understand it's really good and a lot of people like it, but unfortunately for me, I think something just wasn't clicking. Which is unfortunate because apparently the soundtrack is amazing. Yeah, I didn't get very far in the beginning, but it was also just kind of like, I just got to the point and then I just kind of like just paused and I was like, this isn't clicking for me. And I don't think it's because the game is bad. It's just that style of game, like the style of like the gameplay and whatnot. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. Like, I usually don't play games with those kinds of combat systems. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 was very much an exception because I did enjoy playing Baldur's Gate 3 a lot. But I think Baldur's Gate 3 also had the advantage of like, I wish I was more active in playing D&D, but I'm not. So it kind of scratched. It had that D&D itch going for me. Also, like, the narrator's voice was really sexy, and I loved listening to her talk, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I like her voice acting, but yeah. Again, I understand a lot of good things about the game. It just, unfortunately, I was just kind of like, I'm not gonna force myself through this. Because I think part of it was kind of like, it basically made me want to go back and read more Warhammer novels. It's like, I'm pretty sure I could find a Warhammer novel that is similar to this or touches on similar themes that I would enjoy actually just reading instead of getting the narration and having it interrupted by gameplay. If that makes sense. Like, there's some things like when you read them and you're like, oh wow, I wish I could play this. And then there's other things where it's like you're playing it and then I'm like, oh, I wish I could read this. Yeah, I feel like BG3 truly was lightning in a bottle with what it was. Like, I don't know what it was about that game. It was so atypical for what I usually don't play, but something about it worked for me. Yeah, I don't know, something about like that isometric, like, it's weird because I like turn-based, but something about like that isometric turn-based, I was just kind of like, yeah. Oh, that tongue got funky because of the camera tracking. That looked weird. That looked weird on my screen. That probably looked real funky for you guys, like my tongue was glitching for a hot second. Oh well. Oh well. Anyways, let me get raid queued up for the Twitch folks. Hannibal Lecter as like, hello Clarice. A nice Chianti and some fava beans. I'm getting some lag. Things are lagging again. Why are we lagging? Oh, I am at 100% CPU. That's why something is eating my CPU right now. What is eating my CPU? Task Manager, what's eating my CPU? That explains what's happening there. Who is eating my CPU right now? Interesting. There is no obvious discernible culprit. Huh. We're back to 83 though. All right, I might have to double check to make sure stuff is getting processed through my GPU. and not the CPU. So that's a thing that happens sometimes in settings. Anyways, I should get this queued up. Does that still work? Oh, it does still work. Oh, goody. Okay, that still works. That's good. So, thank you everyone for indulging me again tonight. It was really great seeing so many familiar faces come back. Knowing that you guys, I know I've talked about it, I've mentioned it before, I mentioned it a lot. Knowing that you guys are always so understanding about, you know, me wanting to balance my health and streaming and everything, and you guys being patient with that, I think has undoubtedly been the number one factor that has allowed me to keep at this, where in another scenario, I probably would have quit by now had it not been for that understanding. So it truly does mean a lot to me that you guys are understanding about that, and that, you know, you guys are still showing up, you're still here. It feels like it hasn't been that long since we last talked at all, and it does mean a lot to me. So, you know, thank you for that. And I'm gonna, you know, now that I'm feeling refreshed, I've had a long break, I am gonna do my best to try to make sure I'm repaying that patience and that understanding. So hopefully we'll see some progress on that front. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to get us sent over to Selly. And I hope you guys all have a lovely evening. Ta-ta!